Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Please join us today in the study of Srimadbhagavatam. Today we will be covering Srimadbhagavatam, 11th Canto, Chapter 3, Liberation from the Illusory Energy. Hare Krishna. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Srila Prabhupada ki Janantu Kari Vaishnavindra ki Jai Nitai Go Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Please join us for Mangalacharan prayers. We'll say it together. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirye Shrutam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shamana Kirtanaha Hridayantasto Bhadrani Vidhunoti Suhasatam Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhakti Naishtiki. Hare Krishna, please join us in the recitation of the first verse of Srimadbhagavatam, 11th Canto, Chapter 3, Liberation from the Illusory Energy. Shri Rajo Vacha
Shri Rajo Vacha
Parasya Vishnu Rishasya
Parasya Vishnu Rishasya
Mayi Namapi Mohinim
Mai Namapi Mohinim
Mayam Veditum Ichhamo
Mayam Veditum Ichhamo
Bhagavanto Brhavantu Daha.
Bhagavanto Bravantuna.
Please.
Shri Rajo Vacha
Shri Rajo Vacha
Parasya Vishnu Rishasya
Parasya Vishnu Rishasya
Mai Namapi Mohinim
Mayi Namapi Mohinim
Mayam Veditum Ichhamo
Mayam Veditum Ichhamo
Bhagavanto Bravantuna.
Bhagavanto Brhavantu Naha. Shri Raja Uvacha.
Shri Raja Vacha,
The king Nimi said,
the king said,
Parasya
Parasya
of the Supreme
of the Supreme
Vishnu
Vishnu
Ishasya
Ishasya
the Lord
Mainam
for the possessor of great mystic power
for the possessors of great mystic power
Api
even
Mohinam
Mohim
which is bewildering
Mayam
the illusory potency Veditum to understand
Ichhama
we desire
Bhagavanta my lords Bhuvantu
please tell this
Naha
to us.
Translation
by the disciples of His Divine Grace S.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. King Nimi said, Now we wish to hear about the illusory potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Vishnu, which bewilders even great mystics. My lords, please speak to us about this subject. Purport. According to Srila Sridhar Swami, in this chapter, various saintly sons of Rishabdev will speak about the illusory energy Maya, the means for crossing beyond it, the characteristics of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and prescribed duties for human beings. The 48th verse of the previous chapter stated, Vishnu Mayam Idam Pashyan. A devotee of Krishna should see the entire universe to be the illusory potency of the Lord. Therefore, King Nimi is now pursuing this subject matter by requesting more detailed information from the saintly Yogendras. According to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the demigods headed by Lord Brahma and the human beings of the earth are all driven by their particular desires for material sense gratification. Thus they direct their senses toward research for material knowledge. The subtle celestial senses of the demigods and the gross senses of human beings are all busy in ascertaining the measurements of material sense objects. To understand fully the actual nature of Maya, the illusory potency, which causes the conditioned souls to become averse to Krishna consciousness
and surrender to bewildering material manifestations, King Nimi is inquiring from another of the 9 Yogendras, Sri Antariksha. Hare Krishna. Let's cover the Guru Pranati. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yat Kripa Tadaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. May I have the Bhagavad Gita, please? Thank you. Hare Krishna. So, this is where King Nimi asks the first question, the third question. First question in this chapter, third question of the 9 questions he is asking the sages. And we covered, so bringing the context back, so Devashi Narad, he visited Dwarka, and when Vasudeva saw Devaki Narad visiting him, he worshipped Devashi Narad and inquired from him about the process to attain liberation, right? What is of the, most beneficial, what is most beneficial for the humanity. And Devashi Narad at that time congratulated Vasudeva, father of Lord Vasudeva, that this is of benefit for the whole humanity. And Shukdev Goswami, so in the purport, it's being nicely identified. So this is in the chapter 2. I'm bringing the context back. So Devashi Narad, Lord Krishna would send him here and there at times to carry out various duties and to, know of various activities. Because Vasudeva Krishna, he appeared to deliver the burden of the earth. Yet at the same time, Devashi Narad wanted to always stay close to Lord Vasudeva. So he would keep coming back to Dwarka, and he was practically residing in Dwarka. And now sometimes people say that, wait a minute, Devashi Narad had this curse from Daksha that he would not have a residence. Yet at the same time, we also covered that the residence is meant from the perspective of material universe. And Dwarka, Vrindavan, Mathura, so these are spiritual in nature. So they are beyond the curse. So the curse, does not affect when Devashi Narad wants to reside at any of these places. And that is why when Prahlad Maharaj's mother, she was expecting, she was pregnant and Hiranyakashipu had gone to perform the austerities, meditation, to get the boon to become immortal. That was his aim. At that time when demigods had attacked, and Devashi Narad was able to tell them that this is not going to be a demon in a womb, rather this is a Mahabhagavat. And so at that time, demigods, they circumambulated Kayadu, mother of Prahlad Maharaj, who was pregnant with Prahlad Maharaj in a womb. And Devashi Narad was able to take her to his ashram, which was in Vrindavan at that time, because Lord Krishna had revealed to him that Vrindavan is not part of the material world, so Daksha's curse will not be effective here. So similarly, Devashi Narad would keep coming back afterwards to Dwarka, because he wanted to stay close to Lord Vasudeva. And Vasudeva, hearing about the curse that, there is a curse on the Yaduvas, the Yadu dynasty, that it will be soon annihilated. And understanding that this is a time that Lord Krishna would return back home to his transcendental abode, to the spiritual world, he was lamenting that why did I perform so much austerities to get Lord as my son? Why did not ask for me to attain liberation? So that was his lamentation. So this is a spiritual lamentation, not a materialistic lamentation. And Devashi Narad, he would reveal that afterwards, how it is spiritual. But, just to give you an early on, that sometimes devotees are put in bewilderment, in anxiety, by Lord, by his internal tendency, by Yog Maya. So when Lord does that, that is for our benefit, because amazing lessons will be revealed. So in that mood, he's asking Devashi Narad, after worshipping Devashi Narad, he is putting forth this question, what is of benefit? And he is saying that Devashi Narad, before he could even say that actually you are a pure devotee, he actually places a statement that Devashi Narad cannot say that anymore. Why? Because he's saying that you, wherever you go, you deliver the ones who are fallen, but even the ones who are exalted, right? Ones who are advanced devotees, you even purify them. You even deliver them to the next level. So Devashi Narad, realizing that Vasudeva is really looking for some transcendental instructions. And devotees are always anxious to share the glories of Lord Krishna. So he says, wow, this is perfect time. I'm getting an opportunity to glorify Lordship. So let me just continue. And this is where the concept comes in, where Tushyanti Charamanti Cha. The devotees always like to glorify Lord Krishna. And by conversing about him, they are attaining peace, and they are becoming peaceful, and they are experiencing transcendental bliss, happiness, right? The subtle happiness. So that is a great opportunity. So Devashi Narad, realizing that this is a great opportunity, and because of this question being raised, he is reminded of his spiritual master, Sri Narayan Rishi, who is in Bandrika Ashram. And he said that you reminded me of my spiritual master, Sri Narayan Rishi, so I'll discuss with you a conversation that he instructed on to me. And then he is telling Vasudeva about something that Sri Narayan Rishi had shared with Devashi Narad. And now Devashi, so first he glorifies Vasudeva, and similar glorification is done by Shukdev Goswami, who is narrating the whole Srimadbhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj, because that was the first two questions, right? First question was, what is of supreme benefit for humanity? And second question was, what is of supreme importance, what is of utmost importance to a person who is about to die? And both related to the same topic, right? Lord Krishna's name, form, glories, pastimes, they should be discussed. So the conversation of theirs would purify and is of utmost importance in this universe, in the, anywhere, anytime, places, circumstances. We should take an opportunity to glorify Lord, because when we glorify Lord, we become purified. We are cleansed of all impurities that are upon us. And later on, Sutta Goswami, when the 6 questions were asked by the sages at Naimisharanya, and the spokesperson was Shaunaka Rishi. So at that time, he also glorifies them, that this is a perfect question to discuss the glories of Lord Shri Krishna. And so Devashi Narad, he starts narrating this incident that was told to him by Sri Narayan Rishi in Badrika Ashram when he was visiting him. So what is the incident? The incident is that once, when earth was known as Ajanab, so later on it was, even before it was known as Bharatvarsh, and there was a time, then the whole planet earth was known by the name Ajanab. So the earth has had many names because of the different emperors they have been here. And at that time, King Nimi, Maharaj Nimi, he was performing a great sacrifice. And Maharaj Nimi, when he was performing this great fire sacrifice, at that time, 9 personalities, they descended from Akash Marg, from the sky. They literally could walk through the air. And seeing them, everyone got up. The sages who were performing sacrifice, they got up and they were bowing their hands, paying obeisances. The Brahmanas, the whole assembly of Brahmanas, they got up and immediately paid obeisances to these personalities. So Maharaj Nibi could understand that these are some amazing personalities. These are the associates of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna. So he pays obeisances, gives them exalted seats, and he worships them and washes their feet and sprinkles over his head and all his associates. And so, taking this as an opportunity, he immediately asks questions. So it is very nicely given that he did not ask for their welfare. Why is he directly asking questions? Then Maharaj Nimi in his own statement, he is saying that just a momentary association of a devotee can deliver all kind of benefits to oneself. So when one has an opportunity, there should not be any delay. One should directly ask about his welfare, so one's welfare. So that's why he's asking this question. There is no reason to ask how is the devotee of Lord doing, because he is always in transcendental position. He is always, Tushanti Charamatya, he is always peaceful and he is always in bliss. So why spend time, which is very precious commodity, in discussing about the welfare of devotees? Rather, it should be used in discussing the glories of Lord Shri Krishna, because that would be of, interest to the personalities, the great personalities, the Vaishnavas. So these are Paramhamsas. These are the Nav-yogendras, the personalities. So they have adult body, they are adult men, yet at the same time they don't wear any clothes, because they are not aware, means they are not careless, but they are carefree. That's an important aspect. So devotees at times are carefree, and like Prahlad Maharaj, sometimes, remembering the pastimes of Lord Krishna, he would smile, and sometimes he would start laughing, freely, and then sometimes he would start crying, and sometimes he would be completely lost in meditation, not knowing what's going on around him. And that's why, since he was constantly remembering Lord, his name, form, activities, pastimes, nothing could affect him. So, in the previous chapter, chapter 2 of 11th Canto, Maharaj Nimi asked two very important questions. So the first question he asked, which is the same question, similar question that Vasudeva had asked of Narad Muni, and also the similar question Parishad Maharaj had asked in the beginning of Srimadbhagavatam in the 10th canto, in the 2nd canto of Shukdev Goswami, and in the first canto, the 6 questions that the sages had asked. It's a very similar question. So what is of the highest benefit to humanity? What is that one should engage in? And at that time, Shikavi, one of the Nav-yogendras, he responds. Now you would say, okay, Nav-yogendras, these adult personalities, they are Paramahamsas, but who are they? How are they related? So we covered that particular aspect as well. These are the 9 sons among the 100 sons of King Rishabdev. King Rishabdev is an incarnation of God. So he appears and he has 100 sons. The eldest one is Bharat Maharaj. And we discussed how in 3 lifetimes Bharat Maharaj was able to attain liberation. He was able to go back home, back to Godhead. Now why 3 lives? Because when Bharat Maharaj, because of him, the whole planet Earth was known as Bharatvarsha. And he had given up, he renounced his kingdom and he was engaged in devotional service. He went to a forest, established a small kutir, like hut, and in the mode of goodness, forest is said to be, he was worshipping the Lordship. So he was fully focused, yet at the same time, he saw a she-deer, when she was afraid of hearing a lion roar, she jumped across the river, her womb, the embryo, it just floated in the river. And on the other end, when she crossed, she lamented and she died. So Maharaj Bharat, he rescued this baby. And now he thought that this baby deer has no one else to take care of it. So he took care of the baby, but he got attached to baby. So at the last moment of his life, at the moment of death, he was thinking of the baby. It had grown to be a reindeer. So he was thinking of him. So in his next life, he becomes a reindeer. And now he remembers by Lord's mercy what was his previous life, and he's fall down as becoming attached to the reindeer, because that even distracted him from his devotional service. So he understood that that was a big, grave mistake he had made. Now he is thinking of rectifying it. So after the life of a deer, he gets, he is born in the family of a Brahman, where he again he remembers his past 2 lives. So he acts like Jada, he acts like dull, and his name was also Bharat. So that's why his name together, because of his dull behavior. His father wants to teach him Vedas, he is not interested in. His father wants to teach him about ritualistic activities, he is not interested in. Because he has transcended those stages. He is at the Mahabhagavat stage. So he is constantly meditating on Lord Shri Krishna, his name, form, activities, pastime. He's not interested anymore. So he acts dull. How he acts dull is sometimes when you go, to pass stool and urine, you actually pass it, then you wash your hands. To show that how dull he is, he would wash his hands, go, and relieves himself, and then afterward he comes and he doesn't wash. So everybody would think that, oh, such a cross person, he is so dirty. So he was acting dull, he was not dull. So when later on Maharaj Rahuguna, he meets Jar Bharat, and there is a conversation, beautiful conversation happens between them in the 5th canto of Srimadbhagavatam that we have covered in the past. Maharaj Rahuguna realizes that this is a great personality. And in that life, after giving instructions to Maharaj Rahuguna, Jar Bharat engages in meditating on the Lordship and attains perfection. So that's the third life. What about the other 99 sons of Rishabdev, the younger brothers of Maharaj Bharat? So 9 brothers of Maharaj Bharat became the rulers of the 9 islands, dweeps, on this planet Earth, Bharatvash, at that time. Now, what about 90 of them? So Maharaj Bharat and 9, that's 10. So 81 of them became Brahmanas who were engaged in, karma kandas, so ritualistic activities as karma kandas to help the humanity come to that level. So ones who do not easily take to devotional service, they want to follow the flowery language of the Vedas. So they are more attracted to the ritualistic activities oriented towards karma kand. So the 81 sons, they were focused on those. Now remaining 9. Now these 9 are the Navyogendras. So they have been described here as, so the first, I'll just go in the order. These are the 9 sons, and this is the order they actually answers the 9 questions that Maharaj Nimi asks. Kavi Havir, Antariksha, Prabuddha, Pipalayana, Avirhotra, Dromila, Chamasa, and Garbhachan. So these 9 sons of Rishabdev, younger brothers of Bharat Maharaj, they had become Paramhamsas. And when Maharaj Nimi asked this question of ultimate, benefit, Shri Kavi, he tells that the pure devotional service of Lord Krishna would provide the optimal benefit. It is of absolute benefit to humanity, so one should engage in. Now, hearing this response, Maharaj Nimi is wondering. So these are the 2 questions. The first question was, what is of ultimate benefit for humanity? Second one was, how to differentiate the 3 classes of Vaishnavas. What are their ritualistic activities? What kind of religious activities they engage in? And what are the characteristics of a pure devotee, a pure Vaishnava of Lord Krishna? So pure Vaishnava means devotee of Krishna. So when he asked this second question, Shri Havir responds to this question. So now the third question that we covered in the translation today is about the nature and activities of the illusory energy Maya, material nature. Now somebody could ask, wait a minute, Maharaj Nimi already knows about the characteristics of a pure Vaishnava, what is of highest benefit to humanity, how to differentiate 3 kinds of Vaishnavas, and what are the activities, right, ritualistic activities and daily activities a devotee of the Lord engages in. Why is the need of asking about this material energy? So there is a very nice description given, where it is very important for us to understand who is our opponent, right? So, who is causing us to get bewildered? Who is giving us this distress? We have to understand only when we assess the strength of our opponent, then we can prepare ourselves to, fight with him. So again, this is called intelligence. So Maharaj Nimi is asking that what is it? And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he used to often say, and I'm paraphrasing, he used to say that I'm waiting till my disciples grow above the mode of ignorance. Why? Because Maya is very powerful. That's what he was trying to identify. That Maya is very powerful and she can bewilder even the great ascetics, right? Even the great personalities. And we know about great personalities falling to the snare of Maya. Who are some of those personalities? Vishwamitra, Menaka came and lured him away. He had been performing austerities for 60,000 years in Satyuga. And even then, after 60,000 years of strong meditation, she was distracted. There are many other personalities that have gone through. So again, it's just to show how powerful material energy Maya is. The illusory potency of Lord Shri Krishna. She is also known as the external energy, Bahari Shakti of Lord Shri Krishna. And internal potency is Radharani, right? Yogamaya also referred to as at times. Which is Yogamaya is an expansion of Radharani. And then again internal potency. So internal potency is, much higher than the external potency, Maya. So Radharani is much exalted position and of expansions, and the maid servant is said to be the material energy. Mahamaya is another name. So how do we understand this? So this is very nicely described with the 99 Club story. If you know about this 99 Club story, you can directly relate to it. So once there was a king, and this king was always very grumpy. He was always sad. He was, expanding his kingdom. He was going, and anytime he would see another king becoming famous, he would go attack that king, take away his kingdom, drive him out of his kingdom. But he was very upset. He was always very grumpy. So once he was, he was on his his procession was going on, and he pays attention that there are some farmers working in the, farmland, doing farming. And at the time, there's this one farmer, he's singing and he's very happy. He's singing very loudly. So he calls this farmer. He says, "Why are you so happy?" So the farmer says, "Well, I get to work during my day and I make enough to sustain my family, and we have all the necessities by Lord's mercy. So there's no reason for us to be upset. And, on top of that, we have this nice, arrangement where we live in a hut, we live in a harmony, and everyone around us is also very happy." So the king says, this is strange. So he asks his advisors after he lets the farmer go. And he says, how come he is happy? And I'm also always so grumpy, so unhappy, so sad. And then the advisors, they say, actually, Maharaj, he's not a member of 99 Club. So the king is surprised. So he is saying, what is this 99 Club? They say, we can show it to you if you just want to see how he can, lose his happiness very easily. If once he becomes a member of 99 Club, there is no chance he can stay happy. So now the king is really interested. What is this 99 Club? So one of the advisors, what he does is, he places in a bag 99 golden coins, and he puts it where this man had his lunch under the tree. So when this farmer came, he saw that there is a bag right beside his lunchbox. He opens it up, and what does he find? The golden coins. So he's excited. Wow, I found golden coins. So he starts counting them. And he finds out that they are 99. And now he's wondering, who would keep 99 gold coins in their bag? There has to be 100th one somewhere. So he spends time looking around, beneath the tree. He spends time looking for that 100th coin in the farm. He's not able to find it anywhere. So he says, no matter what, I will, earn another gold coin. So I'll have 100. Because 99 seems to be a very odd number. And so he continues to work very hard because he wants to earn that 100th coin. And his family, when they try to tell him, why are you working so hard? Why aren't you coming back home? Why aren't you spending time with he is becoming grumpy. He's becoming irritated by these questions being raised again and again. He says, don't disturb me. I'm against this specific target. I have to get that 100th coin. I have to just one more gold coin. So he's working very hard. So next time when the king comes, what does he see? He sees that this farmer is very grumpy, very irritated, and is always busy. He's, lashing out on everyone. So he asks his advisor, what happened? So now the advisor smiles and says he has become a member of the 99 Club. Because he's going after this one gold coin, the 100th one, And that's what is happening to all the living entities in this material world. We are all chasing this accomplishment of one more accomplishment, just this one. And as soon as we achieve that target, we go after another one. One more. So we are, when we become member of this 99 club, then we become morose, we become irritated, we start committing offenses, sometimes we start committing sins. And this is the snare of Maya, right? The illusory energy of Lord Shri Krishna. Lord Shri Krishna says, Devi he isha gudamai mama maya duratyaya mame vye prapadyante maya metam tarantite. So this material energy of mine is very difficult to overcome, but those who surrender unto me can easily cross over it. Very simple. And this single verse is answer to the two questions that are being asked by King Nimi, Maharaj Nimi. And so, when he asks this question, Shri Antariksh, he responds that the wealth that one tries to acquire in this material world, the material wealth, we are talking about gold, possessions, fame, glories, name, these are virtual death for the soul, because we as living entities have been so fortunate to receive this human form of life, which is a perfect boat to cross over this ocean of nascence, right? Bhavasagar. This ocean of nascence, this material energy, we can easily cross over it. But we are spending time in doing all these frivolous things, right? We are thinking that by holding on all these things, so we become conditioned, we associate, we think of ourselves with this body, that we are thinking, I am this body. And that is false ego. If you think, I am a living entity, I am a Jiva Tattva, and I am an eternal servant of Lord Shri Krishna, Jivera Sarupoya Krishnera Nityadas, then we understand that we are eternal servant of Lord Krishna. So that's the next step. And how do we serve Lord Krishna? Anukulena Krishna Anushilanam. The way Lord Krishna desires, the way he wants to be served. That's how we have to serve him. So we are but an instrument. Lord Krishna tells Arjuna, Nimitra matram bhavisavissachin. You are but an instrument in my service. So we have to act like a perfect instrument in Lord Krishna's service. So now the question that has been raised by Maharaj Nimi is, please describe to me the nature and activities of this illusory energy. So right here we get a glimpse of this nature as how illusory energy bewilders the living entity. Now Shri Antariksh, he goes, one of the Navyogendras, he is going at length of describing how this material energy is built, right? And finally, to us, it comes in the form of this human body, right, for humans. So all living entities, they get different kind of bodies, 8.4 million types of living entities, right? So that those are the designation of bodies. So a living entity who is in the body of a dog will behave like dog, because it's completely conditioned in thinking that I am dog. And a dog barks when it sees strangers, when it sees a threatening situation. And a dog is always hankering for food. So eat, sleep, mate, defend. These four characteristics are associated with all bodies. Everybody, no matter if you have a body of a demigod, if you have a body of an ant, or if you have a body of a dog, or if you have a body of a man, these four things are associated with the bodies. That we need to eat something to nourish our body. We need to sleep so as to rejuvenate our body. We need to have some kind of entertainment. So sometimes, in the scriptures it said meeting, because it's a reflection of entertainment. And that's another snare, meeting is which binds us in this material world. And then defend. We want to have security around us. That's why with COVID-19, everyone is inside the house thinking that inside the house I am safe, right? So these are the necessities of all the bodies. Even a dog is thinking, oh, eat, sleep, mate, defend. Even a demigod is thinking, eat, sleep, mate, defend. They are looking at the security. The position is always insecure, being threatened by other demigods and other demons, in the case of demigods also. So King Nimi is he's asking this question, and Shri Antariksh is explaining to him the constitution of this. So when we look from the human body perspective, the senses are representing, what we have received from material energy. So to us, the senses engage with the sense objects, right? So the senses, there are 5 knowledge acquiring senses. Eyes, we see through eyes. Ears, we hear through ears. Tongue, we take prasadam. So we eat and we taste things, different kind of things. Skin, we touch. By the sense of touch, we can gain knowledge and experience. And smell, by the sense of smell, we can find out if something is aromatic or not. So these are the various 5 knowledge acquiring senses. Now there are 5 working senses. The arms, the legs, because the legs they help us walk, run and so forth, move around. Arms help us do different kind of activities, holding things, just like lifting a bottle of water. And our tongue always wants to speak, right? But at the same time we can be mourning and speaking the whole day, right? When we speak about the glories of Lord Shri Krishna, that's given in the purpose of this chapter, that one can be mourned but speak all the time about the glories of Lord Krishna, because he is not engaged in prajalpa, he is not engaged in gossip. So when we don't engage in gossip, then we are a mourner, right? Well, then we are considered silent, because we are talking about the supreme benefit of ours and everyone else. And then there is anus, where we discard the wasteful things, and the genitals, where we engage in progeny and so forth. So here, these 5 are the working senses. And mind, manashasthani indriyani prakritisthani kashati. So that Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita is talking about the 6 senses. Mind is also said to be like a sense, it's like the strongest one, but yet at the same time it is not a gross sense, it is a subtle meaning. And mind is like memory. So you have to also understand, when you look at a computer, means it has a CPU, it has a memory, and then it has its own identity, right? Whether it's a Microsoft Windows, operating system is running, or if it's running an Apple, those are 2 different kind of operating systems they have. So that is the false ego. We're thinking that I'm a man because I have a human body of a man, and a dog is thinking that the living entity in the body of a dog is thinking it's a dog because it has the body of a dog. So that's what differentiates. And in a body of a dog, the living entity being conditioned by the material energy behaves like a dog. So it has the same, but a different variety based on its body. It also has the 5 knowledge acquiring senses, 5 working senses, and it also has intelligence, false ego and mind, yet it is based on that particular body. So again, the subtle elements and the gross elements are provided by material energy, and this is what constitutes. And here Shri Antariksh goes at length in describing how this body is coming into existence and how various bodies are coming into existence. For that, he has to describe how this world comes into existence, how the universe comes to existence, from starting with the first living entity. And to describe, starting from the first living entity, how it's coming into existence, he goes even further, how the various universes, they come out from the pores of Mahavishnu, and how they come into existence and then they are annihilated back again. So we won't go too deep into it, but it's very interesting that Maharaj Nimi is asking this question. Someone could wonder, why is he asking this question? Maharaj Nimi is asking this, and then Shri Antariksh is going in depth in describing this, how material energy comes into existence. And he very nicely first describes, so it is very important that when Shukdev Goswami is speaking this to Parikshit Maharaj, he identifies the purposes as why material energy comes into existence. And then he is describing, because he wants to also attract the great rishis who are gathered, right? In the assembly of sages at the bank of Ganges, there are great personalities sitting. His own father, Vyasdev, is sitting. Vishwamitra is sitting, Vashishta Devi is sitting, Atri Muni is sitting. So many great personalities are in this. Bharadwaj is there. And all these great personalities want to hear something about, great subject matters, analytical study of this material nature. So that's why Shri Antariksh's description goes very analytically. We'll cover it quickly in 1 minute, and then we'll dive back into. So you would first want to know that what is the purpose of this material energy? So Shri Antariksha describes there are actually two purposes. And then, in the essence, there is only one purpose. So, what are the two purposes? There is either a purpose, first one is, if one is conditioned and wants to enjoy this material nature, then they are put into this conditioned state, thinking that I am this body, to enjoy sense gratification, to enjoy the senses, to be able to lord over the material nature. So, that is a conditioning. Because even though material energy is said to be the inferior energy than the living entities, we are, jivas, so material energy is supposed to be inferior. Yet at the same time, how is it so powerful? Because it has the backing of Lord Krishna. So once who gets bewildered and wants to enjoy the senses, right? The way it's represented is the senses we get, the different kind of bodies, and we want to enjoy in this material world. So when we want to enjoy, that's the first case. Then we are engaging in various activities where actually we are not enjoying. We are, looking for sense gratification. We are trying to serve Maya. So when we try to serve Maya and looking for happiness, that's like running in the desert after mirages, and chasing mirages does not quench your thirst. What we want is a rain of Lord's Harinam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. That can remove all these mirages from our sight and force us with the devotional service so that we can engage in devotional service. And that's when we are actually serving Lord Krishna. So that's the second purpose. So those who are fortunate would be engaging themselves in the devotional service of Lord Shri Krishna, and thus they would be able to attain liberation. Now, attain liberation is very interesting because Shri Antariksha explains this very nicely, that the primary purpose is not to attain liberation and go back home, back to Godhead. The primary purpose is to invoke the love of Godhead in our heart. And now somebody could say, okay, it's very nice. So there seems to be two purposes. One is for people who are conditioned, they are thinking they want to lord over the material nature. They will go through this birth of, the cycle of birth, death, old age, disease. They'll constantly be going through like a Ferris wheel. Srila Prabhupada used to give the example of Ferris wheel. Yet at the same time, people who are conscious of this material energy and how powerful she is, and that to come out, they have to engage in devotional service, that is to invoke the love of Godhead. So as they are working, why would Lord create this material energy to start with? It's nice, okay, this is the purpose, but why would he even create this? So this is where it all comes down to that one point, that Lord, for rebellious living entities, we turned our back to Lord Krishna. So he saw that when we turned our back and we were driven out of the spiritual world, because in spiritual Yoga only wants to keep those who are in harmony, who have, qualitatively we are one with God, quantitatively we are minuscule, so we have minute freedom, and we are misusing our freedom to not serve Krishna, but to seek enjoyment ourselves. We want to be in the center of the circle, not Lord Krishna. We want to take him out. So when a living entity tries to do that, then of course there is no place in spiritual world, because that's a place of harmony, and if we create disharmony, then we have to get to a place. So that is more like a timeout, right? When a kid in the class is creating a lot of disturbance, then the teacher gives him a corner and says, "Your timeout. You just go there and meditate upon what you did." And afterwards, so sometimes kids take it as a punishment, but if they really meditate on how they were causing disharmony, then it's for their benefit. And the teachers should make it very clear why they are giving this time out. And in society, we see that there are some people who are criminals, they're put in jail. Why? So that they can improve ourselves. Now, the sad situation is that there are more prisoners outside the jail in very exalted positions, right? Some of the leaders you can talk about, that it becomes very difficult to manage the society. And this is, what can you do? This is Kali age. This is the effect of Kali age, where people are constantly disturbed. They are quarrelsome by nature. They are lazy. They are less intelligent. They are, always, they are unlucky. And they are always in anxiety. So in such a state of mind, how can somebody behave normally? So sometimes when people are driven by this first purpose, then they are looking for that purpose. But the reason material energy was created, because Lord Krishna, He could not see us as a father cannot see his son in pain. So when we were driven out of the spiritual world, but we couldn't Lord over. So He creates this material universes. These material universes are created so that we can realize what is for our benefit, and we can come into harmony and rekindle the fire we have, the love of Godhead. And that is what, when we establish that loving relationship with Lord Krishna, and we serve Him as a loving son, then we are able to go back home, back to Godhead. So liberation is an effect, but the cause is love of Godhead. And that cause is invoked by the supreme cause, a loving father. So just like a father, a very kind father can sometimes give his son a candy so that the son is ready to take the medicine, right? Medicine may not taste so nice. So the father, sometimes a very affectionate father, would sometimes give son a candy so that the son can take the medication and can cure away the disease. Similarly, Lord Krishna is so merciful that He gives us this material world so that if we want to enjoy for some time, we can enjoy. But then we take to devotional service where there is transcendental bliss. So this enjoyment in the material world would look like pieces of glasses when we experience the diamonds, in the service of Lordship, when we are using our love, when we are serving Lord Krishna with devotion, when we are serving Him with gratitude. That's when we realize the diamonds, the true happiness. So the medication, and sometimes in today's times, doctors have realized that. So they say, okay, this is strawberry flavored, cough syrup, so that kids can take it. And why do parents take that kind of a fruit flavored or some candy flavored cough syrup and medication? Because then it's easier for the children to take it. So Lord Krishna is making a similar arrangement. He is a very loving father, very affectionate father. So He's making that arrangement for us. And just like sometimes you see a child, they are given a toy car, right? And they use this toy car to drive around on the sidewalks, or in a safe environment, like in a veranda at a house, or in a garden in a house. Why are they, or maybe in a park area? Why are the kids driving these cars, the toy cars? Because they want to imitate their father, Lord Krishna, right? So our father, Lord Krishna, He is in the supreme abode, having loving exchanges with everyone. And so we realize, after 75 years of study, the longest study by Harvard Business School, they came to this conclusion that actually happiness comes from loving relationships. We already knew this for many, not decades, not centuries, for many yugas. That has been the secret revealed in the scriptures. And in Nectar of Devotion, Srila Prabhupada explains that Rupa Goswami is revealing this, that it is by relationship one becomes happy. So even though Lord Krishna is Atmaram, right? He is fully satisfied in Himself. Yet He expands into other Vishnu Tattvas and other Vibhinna Amshas, which are Jiva Tattvas, living entities. Why? Because He wants to have that loving exchange with us. So, Lord is doing it in the spiritual world, and that's pervertedly reflected in the material world, where we are looking for sense gratification. So the first attachment we have with is our parents, because we are thinking, I'm this body, I'm a baby, and I need milk. So the first attachment comes with the parents. These are my parents. They provide me, food when I'm hungry. When I'm crying, they immediately pick me up. They take care of me. They are taking care of my eat, sleep, mate, defend, those 4 necessities. So, then we get attached to them. That's on a physical level. Then, afterwards, we see these brothers and sisters of mine. They are also here and they also take care of me. I take care of them. So this is a nice arrangement, a win-win situation. So now we expand to brothers and sisters, and now we are like a family. Family is father and mother. I love you. So we, looking from that perspective, we are looking at them. And in a family, further we see that, okay, this is a neighborhood. Everyone in the society, in our neighborhood, is taking care of each other. They are asking for each other's welfare. So now we expand. So this is expansions with respect to the body. And then it further expands. So all this is conditioning created by the material energy. So it's very important to understand that as Shri Antariksh is explaining this to Maharaj Nimi, how we actually expand in the conditioned state. So this is the trick of illusory energy, Maya. Mahamaya also referred to as times, as how she is bewildering. And then we start thinking, so various set of isms come into factor. So in Nectar of Devotion, Srila Prabhupada explains very nicely that, people come with nationalism, patriotism, socialism, altruism, and so many other isms are created, which is actually an expansion for sense gratification. That is the first purpose they are thinking. But they are missing out the real true essence. This is a toy car provided. The human body is a toy car provided by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so that we can imitate Him, but we can never be equal to Him. Just by driving a toy car. Actually, when I was driving a toy car, I was always perplexed, because you turn the vehicle, if you turn it onto the right side, it would turn to the left. And if you turn to the left side, it would turn to the right. That always perplexed me. Because I had observed very keenly, very minutely, that every time the driver is turning it in a clockwise direction, the car is actually turning right, but the toy car is turning left. Why is that so? So when I asked my father, why is it turning the opposite way when in the case of a toy car? He said, because it's a toy car. You're getting to learn how to gain some motor skills. The purpose is to understand the motor skills, not to drive the car. So it will help you get the skills to be able to drive. Now, how it drives is differently. So similarly, we get this human body, and human body is nashwa, right? So the material body that we get in this material world goes through the 6 changes, right? We take birth, we grow, we sustain, we maintain ourselves for some time, we have progeny, we have children, and then afterwards we dwindle, we grow old, and then we die. So the 6 changes are there. Now very strangely, Lord also shows 4 of those changes. So in the spiritual world, you see 4 of them. What you don't see is the growth and the death, and of course not the birth. So He is always growing from that perspective. So birth, growth, decay and death, when Lord appears in this material world, He is actually free from these 4 things. He is always expanding and He is always maintaining. So He maintains and He expands. So those are the 2 characteristics that are actually visible. The 4 are not visible. Sorry, I misspoke earlier. So the 4 are not visible, which are visible in a conditioned state. So Lord in the spiritual world and the spiritual body also shows these 4 characteristics. So as living entities, we can only expand up to 9 times. But Lord can expand unlimitedly. And Lord, He maintains everyone. So we have this attitude of serving, which is a reflection of maintaining, right? We want to establish this connection. And we maintain that loving relationship with the Lord. So that's a minute maintenance, but that's something a living entity can do. While Lord, He has unlimited connections. So from His perspective, He's maintaining all the living entities. Eko bahunam vidhati kaman. So again, even though we are only maintaining ourselves and our individual aspects, Lord is maintaining everyone. So I know my business, you know your business, but Lord Krishna knows everyone's business. I can be here, you can be there, but Lord Krishna is everywhere. So this is a very important aspect that we should understand. And he's an affectionate father. So the supreme purpose is because he sees us suffering in his absence, he comes again and again so that he can show that path to us, how to come back to him as an affectionate father. So he's not a cruel person. Again, sometimes people, they become, envious of Krishna, they become upset with Krishna because of the conditioned state. And we have to understand that a cruelty of fear, is much different than the respect and love that we have for Lord Krishna. And how do you understand this? So this is very nicely given by the example of a very cruel king there used to be. His name was Vikram. And Vikram is, one who's done amazing feats. Yet he was very cruel by his nature. And anytime he did not like anyone, he would punish them, for no reason. So he was so cruel. And anytime he would say something, everybody has to follow it. If you don't follow, then you will be punished heavily. So he was instilling fear. And so once, he had some pet animals. So once his pet dog, he died. So at that time, he was performing the last rites. And he told everyone that they should come. So everybody in the kingdom came at the last rites, when the last rites of King Vikram's dog was being performed. At that time, everybody was present. And then, after some time, the king himself died. And nobody came when his last rites were being performed. Why did they then not come? Because they feared him. In the case of his dog, he was still alive. Now that he is dead, there is no need to be fear. Nobody paid attention. So that is the effect of fear. So fear, when you think, in fearfulness with God, you cannot have the right emotions. Rather, you would be committing offenses and you would be further creating more miseries by committing these offenses and lead to sinful life. You will fall down from your position. And this is where Shri Antariksh actually, he enlightens King Nimi that when in the snare of Maya, when somebody is looking for sense gratification, because of the propensity they have acquired, because of the conditioning that they have acquired, they engage in those sinful activities. And so they are bound in this cycle of birth, death and old age and disease. They are always going through Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi Dukkha Dosha Anudarshana. They are constantly saying this. Now somebody could say, wait a minute, if I make a mistake, then I have a reaction, which means I get this propensity to make that kind of mistake. So the reaction would cause me to make further mistakes, right? So if somebody by mistake did a sinful action, then the reaction would come back, which because of having committed sinful reaction, one would perform more sinful reaction. So there is no possibility of one coming out, because one will be constantly in this cycle of sinful reaction and will for eternity engage in this cycle of birth, death, old age, disease, constantly going through miseries. How do you come out of this cycle of birth and death? Then it's very nicely given. Srila Prabhupada explains this in his other morning classes, as morning walks, as well as Srimadbhagavatam classes, that we can buy a ticket, in a plane going from city A to city B. And so having bought the ticket, we board the plane. But on the plane, what we do is completely dependent on us, right? We can decide to talk to our neighbor. We can read a book, we can honor prasadam, we can, hear Prabhupada's lectures, we can open Bhagavad Gita, and we can just meditate on a verse, reading and the purports. We can do so many things on a plane. We could talk to our neighbor, we can talk, we can be generous at others, we could be kind with our fellow passengers, or we could be obnoxious, right? So there are various things that we can do during our flight. So if you think your birth as taking on the flight, your death is like reaching the destination. So sometimes you see this year of birth, and the year you die, and there is a dash. What's more important is that dash, the journey you took between. So yes, we got this human body because of our karmas, and now it is up to us to decide. So we have been given this minute freedom, right? So that freedom is still there to decide what kind of activities we should be engaged in. You could decide to read Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, which will purify your existence, and you can attain the supreme purpose, the main goal why material energy was created, to be able to invoke that love of Godhead and go back home, back to Godhead. Or you could read a novel, you could watch movies, and you could do all kind of things that could give you entertainment, but they are actually mirages. They will actually create more void and deprive you of your most important commodity, that is time, right? And Lord Krishna says, time, I am the destroyer of all things. And in time, things will get destroyed, so the life will pass. And this wonderful life is a great boon given to us by Lord Krishna. So we want to actually preserve every moment of our time in service of Lord Krishna. Now for the great sages, it's very important for Shukdev Goswami to explain how this material energy came into being. So this is something we'll quickly cover in a minute. Well, basically there are 4 stages they are covered. Of course, the cause of all causes is Lord Shri Krishna, Ishvara Parama Krishna, Satchidananda Vigraha, Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. So he is the cause of all causes. But the cause of creating material energy is so that he cannot, as a loving father, as an affectionate father, he cannot see us suffering. So he wants us to be happy. So that's why material energy is created. Now we, when bewildered, we think of material energy to be a place we can lord over and become happy, take on the position of Krishna. Just like a child is driving a toy car thinking that he's driving the car, like his father is driving. So he's imitating his father's actions. So sometimes we want to imitate, and that causes us to become, to irritate us. And then we get frustrated in this attempt. So we want to avoid all that irritation and frustration just by taking to devotion. And that is the true path that we should take. So how is this material energy created? So that is where Shri Antariksh goes into some details, like some analytical study of this material nature as how it came into being. And that's like, how when you're driving a car, somebody is trying to tell you, well, you're driving a car, that's great, but this is how car is constructed. So he goes at length, we'll cover it very quickly. Basically, there is Purusha, the Supreme Lord himself here, expands as Mahavishnu, and from the post of Mahavishnu, when he's exhaling, all the universes are coming out, and when he's inhaling his breath and the pores of his body, all the universes are again coming back into him. And then all the living entities in these universes, they are resting. So till he again breathes out. So this breathing of Mahavishnu causes the various universes to come in. And in each universe, he further expands as the Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, where, this is where the secondary creation is done. After the lotus Garbha Dakshaya Vishnu. So again, from the, Padmanabha Vishnu is another name. A lotus sprouts from his navel and Lord Brahma comes. So in the secondary creation, Lord Brahma is responsible for creation, Lord Vishnu is responsible for maintenance, and then Lord Shiva is responsible for annihilation. But in the primary creation, maintenance and annihilation all done by Mahavishnu. So this is important to understand. So there is Purusha. Now Purusha with Pradhan. So then next comes is Pradhan. Pradhan is a female potency. So with Pradhan and Purusha, male and female, because as time, right? Lord Father expands time. So when he expands time, we have the conception of past, present and future. In the spiritual world, there is no concept of time because everyone is in the present moment serving Lord Krishna with love. So here we have this concept of past, present, future, which is bewildering because we lament in the past and we aspire for the future. And while present is the biggest gift that we should actually be using in serving Lord Shri Krishna, but we get bewildered. So as Kal, with Pradhan causes the next stage, Mahat Tattva, the unmanifest form to appear. So Mahat Tattva is from where Prakriti appears, the 3 modes of material nature. And so from the Prakriti comes all the 24 elements, they are being discussed. Now this is also where first comes the sense objects, the perceptions, and then comes the various kind of qualities. So earth, water, fire, air, ether, they are formed. And from sound comes ether. So when ether comes, the ears can perceive the sound. Shabda ke paurusham nishu. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Shabda ke. So even today, the scientists don't know that actually it's not in the ear that the sound travels. It is in the ether, in space, that the sound travels. So this is interesting because scientifically it's there. But in the books that we study, they still say it's the waves that in the air. Well, actually it's in the space, because that's how you are communicating with all the satellites. So it is because of the space, the ether is causing Akash. That's what is causing the communication going on, because there is no air in space, right? There are so many satellites. They keep sending satellites to Mars. They keep sending satellites to Moon and so many other places, and the satellites around Earth, just to observe, just to be able to create communication channels and get pictures and so forth. Various frivolous purposes at times it can be taken as, because this bewilderment is there in the case of Maya, Pratyana. Their intelligence has been stolen away and they are engaging in all these activities while the supreme purpose is to engage in service of Lordship. But devotees are even more intelligent, because we use all those facilities to communicate and spread the glories of Lord Shri Krishna across the planet, right? And that is intelligence. To, not get bewildered, but rather people who are getting bewildered to engage their activities in Lord's service so they get benefit unknowingly. So that is called Agyat Sukriti. So they are performing Agyat Sukriti unknowingly, because devotees are using all the facilities created by the material scientists in the service of Lord Krishna, because that's how it should be used. A devotee understands. So Lord Srila Prabhupada, by his own example, people were saying, why are you taking all these jet planes and all that going around the world? Why don't you just live in a forest like a rishi and do that? He's like, no, my purpose is to follow the instruction of my spiritual master, and my spiritual master told me to spread this knowledge in the Western world, and since the Western world is running at the speed of jet plane, I have to, go with that same speed to spread the glories of Lord Krishna. So he is showing by his example. So devotees, they use all facilities, yes, with the purpose of serving Lord Krishna, because everything that we have received is from Lord Krishna. So everything should be used in his service. If that is the purpose, then we are making the perfect use of these things, and we are helping the humanity to attain that. So that is how we should be using it. Not like a man who's hugging the tree and shouting out, leave me, because it is up to us, who's clutching to Maya, and we have to release ourselves from Maya. So it is us who is clinging to Maya. So that choice has been given to us. And when we make the wrong choices and we are clinging to the tree, putting our hands around the tree and saying, leave me, material energy is jad, it is dull in nature. It is not active, it is inactive in nature. It is the living entity who is active. And because of our consciousness, we can engage our senses in whatever activity we decide. Just like when we take the flight, we could be on this flight, right? So our life is like a journey. And we talk about spiritual journey because that's the main purpose of life. And so when we are on this journey, we can decide to be a very good citizen, to obey the laws and follow the instructions, or we can be an obnoxious personality creating all kind of disturbances. And at that time, on a flight, if somebody creates disturbances and all, they could be driven out of the flight before time, or before the plane even lifts off, they are kicked out of the plane. Or even if they are on the plane, as soon as the plane lands, they are arrested and punished by the government or by the authorities. So that is also very important. Now quickly we wanted to cover, so we talked about the 4 layers: Purush, Pradhan, Mahat Tattva and Prakriti. Prakriti, the 3 modes of material nature, the 5 gross elements, earth, water, fire, air, ether, they come in. And then the sense objects, the sound, various perceptions come. From sound comes ether. And the ears, they perceive sound. From touch comes air, right? So when there is air flowing, then now you can actually feel the sound as well as the touch. So sometimes people get confused, which one is it with air? It is the touch that is the main quality. Since when air is coming from ether, ether is also present in air. That's why there is the sense of the sound. So there is wind blowing and you can hear the sound of wind blowing. So that's because of the ether in the air that you hear. So our skin can perceive the touch. Then comes from sight, the ability to see things, comes fire. So fire is there. And our eyes can perceive fire. Yet at the same time, eyes can also, perceive the touch aspects, right? And, you can see people interacting and so forth. And you can make a relationship how the sounds are coming. So again, that's also perception is there. And then comes taste, and from taste comes water, right? I am the taste in water, Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. So if there is no taste of water, then there is no sense of water. So taste is an essential quality of water. It quenches thirst because of the taste. It gives us that nourishment. And the tongue perceives taste. So again, various sense objects are created, which causes the various gross elements to appear and the senses to appear. And from smell comes earth. Sometimes we used to say when we were kids that after the rain there is such a sondi khushbu aa rahi hai mati se, right? The soil has such fragrant aromatic smell, and the nose perceives this different kind of aromas, the smells. So this is basically how, and then there are subtle elements that are there. False ego, intelligence and mind. Why is it false ego? We talked about this. If we associate with the body thinking I am this body, then the ego is false ego. If we understand that we are living entities, eternal servant of Lord Krishna, Jivera Surupaya Krishna Nitya, then it is ego. So that is also important. And then we have desires. So desires can be in two directions. They can either be materialistic desire for sense gratification, or they could be spiritual desires to serve Lord Krishna. So those are important aspect. Now, as this whole description is given by Shri Antariksh, and he explains to Maharaj Nimi realizes that this material nature, Maya, is very difficult to overcome. She is very strong. It is very easy for living entities to get bewildered. Right? Brahman bhavite kaun bhagyavan jiva Guru Krishna prasade paya bhakti lata bija. So Brahman bhavite. So wandering in this material universe up and down like on a Ferris wheel. A fortunate soul, by the mercy of Krishna, gets a spiritual master, and by the mercy of spiritual master can develop, can reinvoke, rekindle the love of Godhead in our heart, so that we can re-establish our relationship and engage in maintaining that relationship further, so that we can be happy. That is the true sense. In true sense, we can be happy. So now this is where Maharaj Nimi, after thinking that this material energy is so strong, how would a living entity, overcome it? He's asking that how can anybody, now Maharaj Nimi uses some very strong words. His main purpose is that he's saying that anyone who is in this material world, any living entity, how can that living entity can free itself from Maya's unsurmountable grip, unsurmountable potency that she has. She's like a bhav sagar, right? We have to cross this ocean. How do you cross this ocean? So he's asking. So she Prabuddha, fourth of the nine Nav-yogendras, 9 yogendras, Nav means 9. He is responding to this question. And what does he say? He starts with like very strong statement. He's basically saying that wealth is virtual death for the soul. So living entity, when trying to acquire wealth, is actually causing more miseries than happiness, chasing after wealth. And we covered it with the 99 Club story, as how after receiving 99 gold coins, that farmer became so unhappy and so frustrated and irritated and destroyed all his relationships and became so grumpy and unhappy because he wanted to spend all his time to acquire that 100th gold coin. So he wanted to earn it and make his bag full with like 100 coins. So that is something worth saying he was thinking. So that is our state. So sometimes this is what happens. And it is compared, so this mentality is compared to a dog chasing its own tail, going in round in circles. So we, living entities, when bewildered by Maya, want to, shoot for another target. And looking at these targets, these mirages, chasing them, then we are like a dog chasing its own tail, never able to catch the tail. And if we catch the tail, we realize, oh, this is our tail only. So maybe we should catch the next again, forget that this is the tail again, start chasing it. So if you have seen a dog chasing its tail, you can understand the concept. And previously, Shihavir in the previous chapter had already identified to Maharaj Nimi that, how one can, take to pure devotional service. So the characteristics of a pure devotee have already been described in the previous chapter. Now somebody could say, how is it that he is still asking this question? Because now Maharaj Nimi is asking not like from anyone, he is asking from the materialistic perspective. Any materialistic person, any person whose condition and who has this human body can come out of this state. So even though it has been already explained previously that simultaneously as one who is hungry just by eating food can experience simultaneously three things. What are those three things? Experiences pleasure by the nice tasty food that they are eating. They are directly feeling the nourishment going in the body, so the body becomes weak when we are hungry. So now the body is getting nourished, the food goes and provides strength to the body. And then the third one is finding relief from that hunger. The hunger slowly is going away and one is feeling satisfied. So pleasure, nourishment and relief, they are simultaneously occurring. So similarly, when one is engaged in devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the devotion, kindling the spark of love, that is happening, and one gets to have a direct experience of the Supreme Lord, how merciful, how great, how benevolent, how he is our well-wisher. So we come to know of these aspects, and at the same time we start developing detachment from other things. It's not that we are detaching it, so now we don't touch it. Rather, we detach from sense gratification and we engage in everything in serving Lord Shri Krishna. So this is where we talked about the example where Srila Prabhupada was shown a picture of a yogi who was holding his hand back. Srila Prabhupada said, bring it in front of me, I'll go like this because I'll engage everything in serving Lord Krishna. Not for my own sense gratification, but in, pleasing Lord Krishna. So that is the purpose. And that is proper detachment. So now what is the solution? So Sri Prabuddha, he reveals that one has to surrender to a bona fide spiritual master. Now he goes on to describe who is a bona fide spiritual master, who knows the science of Krishna, who knows that Krishna is the cause of all causes, who knows that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and not just knows him, but rather engages in serving him. So who has realized it. So that is where the reference is given in Bhagavad Gita. The process of devotional service has to be understood. Ado Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangodha Bhajan Kriya and so forth. We have talked about it many times in the past. And also, here, the question is that how can one free? So Shri Antariksh identifies that one has to take to this surrender process, and there are four qualities, four characteristics identified. First is one, even when one is a materialist, if they are looking for their benefit, if they are looking for true happiness, eternal bliss in this life itself, then they have to follow these four. First is to surrender to a bona fide spiritual master. And a bona fide spiritual master knows the science of Krishna, he is engaging, he knows the science of devotional service, he has come to the conclusion that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and his behavior, his actions are in that mood. So actions can be performed three ways: mind, body and words. So all three ways he is constantly serving Lord Krishna. So first is to surrender. Second is to take initiation from Lord Krishna. Now in Chaitanya Charitamrita there is very nice verse given. Diksha kale bhakta kare atma samarpana sei kale Krishna tare kare atma sama. Now what does that mean? That at the time of initiation, when one fully surrenders unto the service of the Lord Shri Krishna, Lord Krishna accepts one to be as good as himself. So now we come with the same mission. So we want to serve the Father, so Father reciprocates his love for us. So we have to take first step towards Krishna, then Krishna takes 10 steps towards us. But we have to make the first step. He's already waiting. He's been waiting for Lord knows how many, it is said that Nitya Bhakta and Nitya Mukta, the two kind of living entities. Nitya Bhakta is who is materially conditioned. So for infinite lifetimes we have been in this conditioned state. And Nitya Bhaktas are the delivered ones who are eternally liberated. Nitya Mukta. Liberated is Mukta, Nitya is eternally. So they are eternally liberated. They are in the spiritual world. So we are suffering in this material world for God knows how many millions of lifetimes. But once we take that one step, Lord Krishna takes 10 steps towards us. So one has to take initiation. So that is Tad Vidhi Pranipatena Pariprashnena Sevaya Updekshanti Taj Jnanam Jnaninas Tattva Darshana. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna reveals that as per the process, one has to take shelter of a spiritual master, serve him very nicely, and inquire from him submissively, and then the spiritual master can reveal to us the science of devotional service and rekindle the love of Godhead in our heart, giving us bhakti lata bij, right? That we sow in the fertile soil of our heart. We take care of the soil nicely. We have to be, make sure that we are taking care of this bees so that this bhakti lata bees sprouts and the creeper of our devotion grows with the chanting of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And finally grows across these material layers of this material universes and rests at the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna and bear fruits and flowers. So here the process is being, identified how anyone, any materialist, so it is being said anyone who's conditioned thinking I'm this body can easily come over. So this is only possible when we are in the human form of life. In other 8 million forms of life, it is not possible. So the 400 are the varieties of humans, you can imagine. And among them, we have this opportunity to be able to take to devotion. And so, first is surrender, second is initiation, third is to obey the orders of our spiritual master. So, spiritual master gives instructions, like Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, he gives instruction to Srila Prabhupada that why, you're a nice gentleman and you know English, so why don't you, preach to the Western world in English? So, he translated Bhagavad Gita as it is. As it is means, as Lord Krishna instructed, so the message has been passed as such. It is not as it is to put it on the shelf and say, okay, it stays there as it is. Rather, to understand the message and take to heart. So that is the third step. What is the fourth step? Fourth step is to follow the footsteps of the Acharyas. So when you follow the footsteps of the Acharyas, then you are trending on this path, but you're doing it, as per the instructions of the Acharyas. Then first we talked about orders of spiritual master, then the instructions of the Acharyas, Anukulena, Anushilanam. So as the instructions, so that is the two concepts, Anukaran and Anusharan. Anukaran is imitating someone. Oh, he's wearing, this kind of dress, I'll wear that kind of dress. So everyone will think I'm like him, right? He's speaking this kind of language, I'll speak that kind of language. So everyone thinks I'm like him. But the message may be completely different, right? You can only imitate for so far. In reality, you have to realize many of these aspects to be able to follow on the footsteps. Then, second is Anusharan, by taking shelter of the Acharyas, by taking that knowledge that they have imparted. So in Srimadbhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada wrote purpose, and from 10th Canto, 14th chapter onwards, his disciples, they wrote purpose. These are all translated ecstasies that we can immerse ourselves. The beautiful purports are the translated ecstasies that are revealing the beautiful message as Shukdev Goswami is imparting to, is sharing with Maharaj Parikshit. And the Navyogendras in this chapter 3 of 11th Canto, are sharing with Maharaj Nimi. And everyone is deriving benefit. So this is for our benefit, all of this has been written. It is not that it was spoken at that time, is not of relevance. Still we have these same issues. How can we all be happy? How can we overcome the distress? How can we, not be frustrated anymore? How can we not be stressed anymore? How can we not be, experiencing pain anymore? All these aspects are still there. How can we overcome the COVID-19 pandemic? So all these aspects are still there. And these questions are simply answered by taking shelter of Lord Shri Krishna, because there is fearlessness to one. One becomes carefree of the conditioned state and understands the purpose of this life is to rekindle the love of Godhead, rekindle the spark in our heart and reawaken ourselves. So that is the true birth. So here today, this is the first part of this, where we covered the two questions. The other two questions are basically, now that we'll be covering in the next class, but I'm just covering for the sake. Maharaj Nimi asks about the transcendental position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, because he's so much touched that Lord Krishna, he is actually such an affectionate father. So he wants to understand God. He understands when, Shri Prabuddha identifies that one has to surrender to the spiritual master and engage in devotional service of Lord Krishna. So he understands that Lord Krishna is great. Otherwise, why would someone surrender? So he wants to know how great he is. That is covered in the next question that he asks. And then he wants to also understand the process of karma yoga that can free us from this, material activities, from the material activities. How can we become free by engaging in karma yoga? So Srila Prabhupada, he is basically identifying that karma yoga is a reflection, means again, the various yogic processes. So one who is engaged in bhakti yoga, or also known as buddhi yoga, is already performing karma yoga in true essence. But that is the fourth question that he asks. And why is he asking this? Because he's realizing that one has to become happy. And to be happy, first one has to be peaceful. And how come these devotees are always peaceful? Sometimes people ask this, that you people always seem to be very relaxed, very carefree, very happy, and you're always rejoicing, you're always singing, dancing, and enjoying nice prasadam. How is it? Well, there's all kind of miseries all around the world. Why don't you go out and try to release those miseries, engage in humanitarian activities all around the world? Sometimes people ask these questions to Srila Prabhupada, and many of his disciples have been asked constantly about these questions. That why you engage in all these activities? Well, we are, His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj shares this, that, when he was asked this same question, why devotees of Lord, means even sannyasis, they are engaged in all these activities. What is the purpose of this? Then he said, this was asked by Menka Gandhi, who was the environment minister at that time at the airport in Mumbai, now known as. She asked this question. He said, well, you're taking care of external cleanliness, so you're cleaning everything externally. We are taking off internal cleanliness. So by cleaning someone internally, that cleanliness, once one is cleansed of the impurities in their heart, then there would not be any need to perform any environmental cleanliness, cleaning of the environment, because one will be conscious not to pollute the environment. So we are taking care of a higher purpose. So when she heard, she was shocked. And Srila Prabhupada also revealed the same thing. That what is the purpose of saving the coat of a man? The more important is to save the drowning man. By taking care of the body, by creating various kind of hospitals and facilities. If you give someone food today, tomorrow again they will be hungry. What's the purpose of this? Rather we give prasadam, so once, soul is awakened, soul is nourished. So they are awakened to the true consciousness that Jivera Sarup Hoya Krishna Nityadas, that we are eternal servant of Lord Krishna, and so that they can engage in devotional service. So that has been discussed. And how come the devotees are always peaceful? So this is revealed in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Ateva Shanta Bhakti Mukti Siddhi Kami Sakali Ashanta. So Krishna Bhakta, devotee of Lord Krishna, is nishkama. Nishkama means he doesn't have any desire for sense gratification. Rather, all his desire is to please Lord Krishna. So all activities he engages in is to please Lord Krishna. That's why he is peaceful. Ateva Shanta. That's why he is peaceful. And Bhukti, Mukti, Siddhi, Kami, they have all these desires. Bhukti is one who wants to enjoy this material world. Mukti is one who wants to attain liberation. And Siddhi, one who wants to attain various kind of Siddhis, powers. And Kami is one who wants to engage in various kind of materialistic activities. They are constantly disturbed. Why? Because they are seeking sense gratification at one level or another. We'll elaborate on this more. So these two questions is what we'll cover in the next class. So today we covered two important questions. First is, what is the nature and activities of Maya, the material energy, the illusory potency of Lord Shri Krishna? And the second one is, how can anyone, even a materialist who's not very intelligent, can free, oneself? Such a person can be freed from the Maya's unsurmountable grip, the illusory energy of Lord Krishna, who is so difficult to be overcome. How can he, one cross over this ocean of nascence, this Bhavasagar? So those are the two aspects that we covered today. And the solution is that one has to surrender at the lotus feet of a spiritual master and perform 4 activities. Surrender, aspire for a bona fide spiritual master, take initiation from a spiritual master, obeys the instructions of spiritual master, and then follow in the footsteps of previous acharyas. So once in this manner engages in devotion service, can easily cross over this bhavasaga, this material energy. And otherwise, this material energy is unsurmountable, right? Devi he isha gudamai mama maya duratyaya mamevya prapadyante maya metam tarantite. So Lord Krishna in this verse in Bhagavad Gita gives the answer of both of these questions. Devi he isha gudamai mama maya duratyaya. This material energy of mind, which is made up of 3 modes of material nature: mode of goodness, sattva guna, mode of passion, raja guna, mode of ignorance, tamo guna, is very difficult to overcome. Duratyaya. Mamevya prapadante. Those who surrender unto me, maya metam tarantite, can easily cross over it. And the process of surrender is to accept a bona fide spiritual master, surrender to him, take initiation from him, serve him, follow his instructions, and follow in the footsteps of previous acharyas. Hare Krishna. This is where we are in the class today. This is the first part of the 2 classes. And we'll cover the next 2 questions in this chapter in the next class. Please join us for Nrsimhadev prayers. Hare Krishna.
Namaste
नरसिंहदेव भगवान की जय, प्रहलाद महाराज की जय, ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, शिला प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल, हरे कृष्णा।
Hare Krishna.